This thing is a little bit customized, custom paint job, has the cowling on the engine, is customized. It has this cockpit cover. It's a two-piece, the other piece is on the front cockpit. So you can actually take the front windshield off, cover the cockpit. I bet it goes 5-6 miles an hour faster, but it also looks cool. And the best way to transport these is in place, so because there's nowhere really to stick them in the airplane. It has these little C-shaped things that go under the cockpit coaming and lock it in there, and then the little quarter-turn fasteners lock it in. So my bag's in the front, and I'm going to stick this on there. Do this without scratching anything. Gonna put a quart of oil in. It's not using much. Flew 500 miles 2 days ago to get here, and only put in 2 quarts, so pretty darn good.
They just had, did you guys come out and see when they had the train here?
All right, we got an intake drain on the number 4 intake pipe. We'll open up. Hopefully not get any oil out of it. If we can get it open. There it goes. And then we pull the engine through 2 complete revolutions. Actually, we'll do 4 revolutions just to be safe. Switches are off, the mixture's lean. One hand. The oil in the radial engines, of course, tends to accumulate in the bottom cylinders, so you pull it through to make sure there's nothing in there. If it gets full of oil, the prop, you won't be able to pull it through. So that's one. 1.5. 2. 2.5. 3. Drain valve. If you leave it open and start it, you'll hear a little popping, and then you think, oh rats, I gotta stop and get out and shut the engine off and close that valve. But, so I hear.
Yes.
But it is down and closed. All right, so big pipe closed, we're pulled through. Colton, come here. Ground crew.
Ground crew.
Taking away the garbage.
The scooter.
The scooter.
What's going on YouTube? It's me, Dewey Davenport, and guess what? Andrew King. He did a last minute run through Springfield, Ohio here, and guess what?
What?
He's ferrying another airplane. So just like a week and a half ago, he was ferrying a Great Lakes, and today he's flying a Waco UPF-7. I'm gonna have him talk about everything, but real quick, the Barnstorming Carnival is July 13th and 14th. Bring your antique airplanes, any airplane, everyone's welcome. We have pancake breakfast each day from like 8 o'clock to 11. Biplane rides, we have lots of kids activities. It's free to get in. If you have an airplane, antique, biplane, open cockpit, tail dragger, we put you on display.
Even nose draggers.
Even
Everybody's
those.
welcome.
That's right.
Springfield, Ohio, KSGH.
So try to make it if you can. We have some hotel lodging that we can get you set up with. We can get you some transportation. We'll take you to and from it.
Camping, you can camp here on the field.
Yeah, so we hope to see you. But anyway, Andrew, it's good to see you again. I got home last night about midnight, and here we are. He's getting ready to head up to Minneapolis area, and I'm gonna let Andrew take it over from here.
This is a 1940 Waco UPF-7. I think the 7 was supposed to be the year. It might be the year it was designed. Most of them were built 39, 40, 41, I think. This one was built in 1940. Most of them were used by the military for training. It was a primary trainer. I think it was a PT-14, I think was the designation. And same thing as a steerman. A lot of people are familiar with the steerman. Same mission as a steerman, I personally like this better than a Stearman. I think it flies better. I think it looks better. It's a good airplane, but they didn't build, I don't think they even built 1,000 of them, where they built like 10 or 12,000 Stearmans. Boeing had good PR, I guess. But anyway, it was built near here in Ohio. I'll practically fly right over the factory where it was built, up in Troy, Ohio, when I leave out of here. And this one, again, 1940. I'm sure it went to some, it could have gone to a civilian pilot training program, CPT program school, or an actual military school. Probably originally had yellow wings and a blue fuselage, probably when it was new. This one was restored by Rare Aircraft up in Minnesota, Faribault, Minnesota. Customized a little bit. It's a typical Rare Aircraft restoration. Everything on it, every nut, every bolt is just perfect. I almost hate climbing in it. Leather seats and stuff, and it's so nice. I almost hate touching it, but you got to touch it to move it. So we're moving it. I did 500 miles 2 days ago. Weather was bad yesterday, and then I got another 600 miles to go today. So should be able to do that by this afternoon sometime. And so it was restored by Rare Aircraft up in Minnesota, 2013. They had it for a while. I think it went to one owner, and then about 3 years ago was sold to an owner in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, a car dealer. He kept it for a few years, and he kind of likes to get different airplanes, buy and sell airplanes. So Rare Aircraft's gonna broker this for him and sell it. So it's for sale, and then he's gonna probably buy another airplane. But so I'm taking it back to Minnesota from, it was actually in Trenton, New Jersey was where it was based, and taking it back to Faribault where Rare Aircraft is, so they can detail it, get it ready, and probably take it to the big show in Oshkosh and put a for sale sign on it and try to sell it. But it's a typical sort of late 1930s biplane. 220 Continental engine, like the New Standard, like the Traveler, like my Traveler, the most common that size radial engine. But this cowling would not have been on it when it was new. This is part of the customizing it, the NACA cowling they call it. The wheel pants is a little bit of a customizing thing, make it a little bit fancier. It wouldn't have had those on it when it was new, when they were just training pilots with it. It has oleo struts in here that do the shock absorbing, and they're splined, I believe, on the bottom to keep the wheel from moving in and out like this. Very rugged airplane, fully aerobatic. Guys have put as much as 450 horsepower engines on the front of them, like they do with Stearmans, to make air show airplanes out of them. The fuel is in the top wing in the center section. There's two 25-gallon tanks, a left and a right tank. Nice to have separate tanks, and you can run off one and then run off the other one, and always have some reserve. So that's that typical wire braced wings. Bottom wing, you'll see the bottom wing is quite a bit shorter than the top wing, which helps kind of give it a rakish look. I think it's one of the things that makes it good looking. Has 4 ailerons on it, where the Stearman only has 2. 4 interconnected ailerons. This strut connects them. They've got piano hinges on them, so that's one of the things that kind of makes it maneuverable. If we come around to the cockpit, if you want to look in the cockpit, I'll go around the other side. Instruments have been custom refaced to white instruments with the Waco emblems on them. And of course, radios in the center here. The control stick with a nice fancy stick grip on it with the various buttons for smoke and push to talk for the radios and stuff. The controls themselves fairly stock. It has regular pedals with toe brakes for the rudder pedals and toe brakes. Throttle quadrant on the left-hand side, throttle carb heat mixture. There's a trim crank on the left-hand side for setting the tail trim, and it has a nice box for putting your maps in, which I like. A lot of people do these airplanes and there's nowhere to put your maps when you're not holding them, so that's nice. And then there's a parking brake lever on the right side, like a Model A Ford kind of, that you can pull back and put the brakes on if you're parked and you don't want the airplane to roll. So that's the cockpit, but again, you can see everything is meticulous. Every nut, bolt, and screw is perfectly placed. Workmanship is really incredible here. So the tail, as we discussed before, the whole stabilizer for trim moves up and down in the slot there, the front of it. There's a little jack screw in there that's run by the crank and the cable. So the whole front of the stabilizer goes up and down for trim. Elevators, very light, nice hinges, and has these aerodynamic overhangs on the elevator and the rudder that help make them more effective. And again, add to the maneuverability of the airplane, make it nice to fly. The tail wheel is it has 2 positions. It's either fully swiveling, or you can lock it straight ahead. So for takeoff and landing, and of course while you're flying, you leave it that way, you lock it straight ahead. So it tends to keep you going straight down the runway when it's locked straight ahead. But for taxiing and making turns, you have to unlock it. And there's a little thing on the right side of the cockpit that you push forward and twist, and that locks it, and then you can do the reverse and it unlocks it. So that's the tail wheel. But well, by 1938, 39, they had really kind of figured out how to make airplanes fly well, engineered right, the seats adjustable up and down, and little things like that. So it's a very well engineered, it's probably the best engineered Waco for the open cockpit airplanes that they built, is this airplane. So it goes about, I think it's going over 100 miles an hour. I think it might be going 105 maybe. I've had a headwind all the way, so I've been averaging like 92, I think. But it goes 100, 105, something like that for cruise, about 1750 RPM, and burns about 13 gallons an hour. So as I say, it has 50 gallons. So you can, I think I did 2 hours and 45 minutes maybe, but that's about as long as you want to go and keep a good reserve. But yeah, that's the lands, probably comes down final 75 miles an hour, touches down 50, something like that probably.
What is this a good ride airplane?
This now, when you're barnstorming, this is one of the good ride airplanes. You know, there's the different various Travel Airs, Wacos, and guys have done it in some oddball airplanes like Birds and stuff. The Travel Airs and Wacos are the two main ones. The standard, of course, is the king, but there's only 7 or 8 of them around, so there's a lot more of these. A lot of people do use these for barnstorming. Originally, when they were trainers, they had a one place front seat. Only one person could sit in the front, but they made a civilian version with a 2-seat front seat that was wider, and a lot of the other ones have been converted. This one has been converted to the wide front seat, so 2 people fit in there. The Rare Aircraft has a supplemental type certificate, it's called, to modify the airplane and put a 275 horsepower Jacobs engine on it, and then you get a higher gross weight, so you can carry bigger people, which is a factor in 2024, the size of people these days. But so if you really want a real good barnstorming UPF-7, if you get a Rare Aircraft airplane with a 275 Jacobs engine and the higher gross weight, that's a really good barnstorming airplane.
One thing I noticed is the landing gear, the width is very wide, so
Yep.
that's good for definitely hopping rides, landing on asphalt.
Well, and for instructing, they were instructing in it. It's hard to imagine sitting in the front because it's pretty blind. I think it's blinder than a Stearman, but it's very wide for that reason, so that it's less likely to swerve on landing.
You want to come and finish it? Hold it.
Come
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
All right, everyone. So that's Andrew's walk around, and we're bringing in Brittany,
Oh, that's better.
center of attention.
Well, thanks, guys.
Yes. So Brittany, we were talking about on the last video. She is the one that shoots the vintage calendar for us, or for her, for all of us.
For the aviation world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Blackbriar
Briar
Photography.
yeah. You can look her up on Instagram or
Facebook.
Facebook. But she still has calendars for this year. She's working on calendar for 2025. We're going to probably have some really cool airplanes on there.
I hope so.
Yeah. She's also the assistant airport manager here at Springfield, and she helps with the Barnstorming Carnival. Andrew, that was a great walk around, real quick. Hope you guys like this UPF-7. We're not going to get to do air-to-air because he has to get on the road, but you can see this is a beautiful plane. It's for sale. If you guys buy it off this video, Andrew and I, we're getting 6% commission. But Rare Aircraft, they don't know that quite yet.
I forgot to tell you, Ben, but
That's right. But anyway, I hope you guys got to read Andrew's article and actually
Sport Aviation.
Sport Aviation. It's pretty awesome. He's been ferrying some pretty cool airplanes, and if you guys have a Rare Aircraft, you probably should call Andrew. All right. Well, until
Tally-ho.
then,
Off
blue
to cut
skies.
the key. Can't step on my gun. radio failed when I left Trenton. Before I left Trenton, unfortunately, we messed around for a couple hours getting it fixed, and they finally rigged up a handheld for me. And they said, well, you're going to need new batteries because it's going to be on all the time, right? And I didn't say anything, but when I'm 5.1 miles from there, that thing's going off. So I turn it on when I get near an airport and call Unicom, but otherwise I don't want to hear anyone. Clear prop.